Good to see you all.
Good to see you.
Thank you. How was Tennessee?
Well, very nice.
I saw it caught on fire.
Before we left.
Part of it.
Well, this is before we went. They called that the Kelly curse. I announced we were going to Dollywood, and they said, oh, the Smokies just...
And erupted in flames.
That's a Kelly curse. We do that. I said an hour ago, Dave, I feel real good about where we are with COVID. Just got...
Sorry, I need some water. Need a lozenge.
It's a real issue.
Why don't you tweet this stuff, man?
When I say so, as soon as I start doing that, it gets even worse.
Twitter will fall apart.
Twitter
He just starts tweeting.
That's right. That's right. You can't do it. Well, I'll tell you about Tennessee.
I want to hear it.
All right. My son didn't go.
What?
I know. He got the flu. He had the flu his entire spring break. I know. Saturday, he woke up and said he didn't feel well. And then we had the whole family coming over on Sunday for Easter. So the next day, Easter Sunday, he didn't feel well at all. So we quarantined him in his room and said, don't show your face. You're not to show your face for Easter. And then everybody came over. We did all that. And then the next day, he still didn't feel any better. So we had him tested for COVID and the flu. And the flu came back positive. So...
Did you have to go into the reserve of tests that you guys have been
yeah, we did.
Stockpiling and hoarding?
We went into the reserves, and he tested positive for flu. So we debated then, like, should we cancel this whole trip?
Yeah.
And I said, well, there's a monetary piece of this, isn't there?
Hang on.
Some of these are non-refundable.
Wait a minute. We got this cabin rented up there now, don't we? And so we said, no, we're not gonna cancel the trip, of course.
Did you pick up another teen along the way, or just kind of go empty?
I went with just me, wife, and daughter, and the girl. And we had a really nice time. That is Dollywood.
Yeah.
I'm not a paid endorser for Dollywood, but that's a great park. They had roller coasters that were some of the best I've ever ridden. And I'm not even a huge roller coaster person, but because my son wasn't there, I had to ride with my daughter. And there's one called Lightning Rod. And a lot of people told me Dollywood is a hidden gem, and it is. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful place.
Oh yeah,
in the mountains. Went through your hometown, Dave.
Did you?
To get there? Sort of. Saw the exits. Saw your picture. Saw the billboard.
You saw the best part.
Saw the billboard.
Did you throw an empty out the window?
Yeah, for you.
Pour a little out.
Why not? You know,
little moonshine.
Home of day bacon on the billboard.
That away.
Have they named a stretch of highway for you yet, Dave?
Over on Day Bacon Parkway. That's right. And anyway, but Dollywood is set in this pristine, beautiful place, and it wasn't that crowded. The weather was wonderful. Now, Gatlinburg, a lot of people told me Gatlinburg is very touristy, and it's true.
It is.
No question about that. So we did that a day, and then we went to Dollywood. Went to the Titanic Museum. I knew you'd like that.
And did you sink?
You go through it. I'll tell you what was interesting about that is that at one point you go into a room that is the same temperature as it was the night the ship sank. And you don't even realize you're going in there, and it's like you're on the front of the ship, and you see like lights all around you, stars, and it was unbelievably cold. I mean, it was 28 degrees, and they said it's 28 degrees.
That's
in here.
a clever way to do it instead of just touching a piece of ice.
All right, he's making reference.
Here's a previous exhibit.
BB Shea doesn't know this. In a traveling exhibit, I went to Titanic once before. They had you touch a piece of ice, and they said,
"This is an iceberg."
I went to the same one. I remember that. Yes.
Touch a piece of ice.
Yeah.
Well, this one, you go into this room, and it's 28 degrees. So this is the exact condition the night the Titanic sank, and it was so cold. And of course, I'm wearing t-shirt and shorts.
Yeah, most are.
And then they had a big pool of water. And they said, if you want to, put your hand in the water. And I did. And I put it in there for as long as I could. And it started to ache within about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only imagine. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Brutal. Then we went to that true crime museum.
Well, wait, did you hold your wife at the front?
Yeah, we did all that. We did all that. I'll tell you something else they did.
Jack?
They have a jalopy downstairs for
They
the
had
adults.
all of that.
The handprints?
They had everything. They also had decking at, like, angled up. You know how the ship goes down,
Yeah.
And so they had decking angled up at like 10 degrees, then 30 degrees, and then, almost 90 degrees, like 50 degrees.
Up and down,
and you try to hang on while you're up there. It's tough. I mean,
Wow.
that was a really nice museum. And it's in
As far away from the ocean as you can get.
Pigeon Forge,
in the
Tennessee. And it's the Titanic Museum. And, of course, I was dropping Titanic lines the entire time.
Of course you were.
And the employees, when we actually went through, they took my ticket. And I said, I won my ticket on Titanic in a lucky hand of poker. DiCaprio line. And the woman said, yeah, move on. Let's go. Let's go.
It's still $29.50.
Then we went to the True Crime Museum.
Oh, well,
that
this is your
explains
wife's
the
passion.
photo.
Okay, my wife's very into this.
Yes.
My wife loves true crime.
What's it called?
It's called Alcatraz. It's called Alcatraz East. Is what it's called.
Really?
And when you go through, they have exhibits on every crime from assassinations of presidents to everything you can possibly imagine. And my poor daughter was in here, and they were graphic crimes. Where the Amber Alert came from, and all this different stuff.
Wow.
Well, the coup de grace near the end, the Volkswagen Beetle that Ted Bundy drove and got his victims into.
No.
Yeah.
That's where it is.
I have my picture.
He
with
drove
it.
stick.
He drove stick. And my wife
He was thrifty.
looked at it and just lit up. I mean, she started welling up. She was like,
Did she?
Oh my God.
This is the best day of my life.
there's Ted Bundy's Volkswagen.
What color was it?
Yellow. It was
Okay.
like a gold. I mean, you drove one similar to it. I'm sure.
Yeah, mine was Mediterranean blue.
Right. He had a pale yellow Volkswagen, and he took the passenger seat out so that when his victims got in, he could more easily control them. I mean, it was really disgusting, And every step of the way, I was like, why are we here? And my daughter, who's only 13, was being dragged through this thing. And just blood everywhere. Mm-hmm. My wife said, shut up. We're doing it.
She signed the guest registry, get a T-shirt.
There were 4 cars. Bundy's,
Yeah.
Bonnie and Clyde's, with
Oh,
the
yeah.
bullets. With the bullets in the side. Yeah.
It's like an old Model A or something, isn't it?
Yes. And I got pictures of all of them. And right next to that was John Dillinger's vehicle. That is a beautiful old vehicle.
Did he die in a shootout?
I don't
Dillinger
think
went.
so. I don't know how he went. They have. I mean, I should have read about it.
I'm sure he was shot. I don't know if it was in a car.
And then next to that, OJ's Bronco. OJ's Bronco. And there was a sign that said, yes, this is the Bronco that was in the slow speed chase.
So don't ask.
And we just marveled at it. We took every picture you can possibly imagine of it and with us in it. And my wife was just overwhelmed.
Christmas card material.
Oh, sorry. Easy now.
Her and the Bronco.
We don't want to say too much, but yes, what an event!
Wonder what Cowlings took for that. How much money he got?
I wonder.
You sell that.
That's
for.
his. That's
I mean,
his.
Did he
Bronco.
sell it directly to them, or did he trade it, or?
Well, it's a temporary exhibit, so I don't know where it usually is. But they said this is
I
temporary.
see.
But they had all 4 vehicles down there of those 4, and it was pretty
Well,
overwhelming.
you hit the mother load.
Absolutely. And that Bronco, by the way, looked in pristine condition. I mean,
Really?
it hadn't been used since 1994 when it was out
Impounded.
on the road. Well, yeah, taken into evidence. And then sold to whatever museum and on display there. I mean, I was amazed by it.
Mm-hmm.
I was. I told.
Do they have any fun exhibits there, like what it feels like to be stabbed? Or...
Well, they had the cell of one of the very famous inmates at Alcatraz. And they're tiny.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Alcatraz is. We visited years ago, and it is surprisingly small.
The
And it's
cell.
only one row of cells.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's like one big hallway, like you would see in Shawshank or
Right.
whatever. But it's like just one row.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they said, can you escape? And they had a little small hole that somebody had tunneled through to try to get out. And they had the exact dimensions of it. And I couldn't, but my daughter did. She was able to.
Nice.
She was able to wriggle through there and escape. And they had every possible thing when it comes to true crime. I recommend. I that was one that my wife wanted to do, but when I went, I was like, okay, I'm into this. They had stuff on every tragedy you can imagine. September 11th, Oklahoma City bomb. Every crime that's been committed that's famous was up there. And
How far back?
all the way back.
Like to the 1900s?
Assassinations of Garfield. I mean, a huge thing on presidents being assassinated. Lincoln.
Even Lincoln?
Yeah.
Okay.
All of them. All the ones. And I thought of you, Dave. I mean, you should have been in tow. You should have been there with us.
Oh, you had an
Sure
extra
would've been
space.
Yeah, we did.
I know. Well,
I should have called you.
Well, phone didn't ring.
That's right. And then
So what'd the boy do for a week?
Yeah, what's going on there? How'd that work out?
Did he have a night nurse?
no, he himself. We had left him.
Care.com.
This is what good parents we are. We had a leftover ham.
You made him eat off a bone-in ham for a week.
So get yourself a bone-in ham, and we allowed him to go out and go or order pizza or whatever. And then we looked in on him 2 or 3 times a day, and he's just sick. I mean, he just felt bad until about Friday, and then he got better.
Poor
and
kid.
I know it was really too bad because the roller coasters, I think he would have enjoyed.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Let me tell you one. My daughter and I got up there, and there was a sign that said you must be under this height to ride this ride. And it was a huge roller coaster. It's called the Wild Eagle. And we got up there, and the guy said, "How tall are you?" to me. And I recently had a physical.
I know they stretch you an inch.
6'7". 6'7" is what the guy told me when I went to the doctor 2 months ago. I'd always said 6'4".
I always thought you were 6'5".
Well,
I thought you got stretched to 6'6".
6'7", he told me, and that was without my shoes.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, 6'7". He goes,
you can't wear shoes in that park?
well.
You didn't hear it from me, but slouch. If you want to ride Magneto or whatever it's called.
Wild Eagle. Wild Eagle.
You'll start slouching right now.
He said, I'm going to tell you right now, you're close. He goes, you close, brother. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you may be too tall to ride this ride. And now there's tons of people behind us and everything, Yeah. And he goes, come on over, I need to measure you.
What do they measure you next to? Like Porter Wagner?
Well, they put a...
Dolly's Buffon.
Dolly's hair from 69. 1968.
They had a huge picture of Dolly. You had to be below.
Sorry, partner, you're too tall. Exit through the gift shop.
Get some fudge.
Oh, they had great fudge. I got some fudge.
Gatlinburg and
Mountain
Sevierville.
fudge.
I got mountain fudge, and they put me next to Dolly with a bouffant hairdo, and they said, "You better clear her bouffant, or you're out." And I did not. I mean, I was too tall. I was taller than Dolly.
What'd your daughter do?
Well,
she couldn't ride.
The guy said to me, he said, "You can ride this ride, but you'll lose your feet."
It's a hanging.
You dangle.
It's a hanging ride.
That's right.
Do you really use them?
And I said, you think so? He goes, it'll rip them right off.
It's like, we got some tall,
a bloody Crocs next to him.
We got some tall furs out there. Just scrape right against them.
And he looked at my daughter and he goes, you got to go. He turned to me and said, go. And then he looked at my daughter and said, do you want to ride, sweetheart? And I looked back at her and she goes, I'll do it. And she did it by herself.
Oh, wow.
She was on a whole ride. And she said it was a really scary. She rode it a few times by herself. She said it was very scary.
Oh, perfect.
They had one of the best rides I've ever been, which I could ride. I felt body shamed. I was like, I'm too tall.
Yeah. Too gargantuan
to ride.
I've never seen that.
I've never heard of that either.
Well, as we walked in, my daughter said, you may be too tall. And apparently there was a sign, and I had missed it. And I said, what are you talking about too tall? Let's go. Come on. And, then you walk all the way, you go through the line and everything.
Oh.
And I thought, too tall. And then when the guy said it, I said, what are you talking about? Too tall to ride. Who could imagine? Now, I was too heavy to ride one, too.
Really?
Now, that's different.
This was at a different park. This was at a place called Anarchista, which is it's in Gatlinburg. You ever heard?
Yeah.
You ride a
Is
gondola.
that one word?
Yeah, it's like an
Is it
Indian.
Native American?
It's Native
Yeah.
American for highest point, and they take you up on a gondola, like on a ski lift.
I do a lot of that there.
Yeah, and so you're up there on the highest part of a mountain. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But they have a roller coaster that you can. It's like a wooden. It's basically just down a hill, and they said if you're over 220 now, you can't ride. And I said, well, fudge it. I told my daughter I'm fudging this. And she goes, okay. So we got up there, and he goes, you might be too heavy, partner. And I said, I beg your pardon. And he goes, over 220 can't ride now. And I said, well, I hadn't weighed myself in a while. And he goes, we've got a scale. And I said, well, I'm not doing this ride. I said, more body shaming.
But don't find the scale.
More body shaming.
Leave
twice I couldn't ride that ride. Can you believe it? Yes.
Yeah.
So two of them I couldn't do. But Dollywood has a roller coaster called Lightning Rod that may be the best roller coaster I've ever ridden.
Huh.
I told Chris Demm and BB Shea before you got here, you know how some roller coasters you go up a huge hill and then drop over and you chug up the hill really slowly? This one takes you up the hill at top speed. It just slide up the hill, which I couldn't believe.
New technology.
It is new technology.
Yeah.
And it was outstanding.
Is Dolly herself the voice of the keep all your hands and feet inside the ride?
Yeah. Of course. What else would it be,
Is there an Islands in the Stream ride?
No, there should be.
That's not like a lazy river.
Or the Flume?
But
Yeah.
but if you go through the park, she's playing everywhere. You know, if you've got Islands in the Stream and all the different, but they only got like 10 songs playing over and over, and it's all Dolly.
It's 9 to 5 again.
Yeah. Jolie. God, it was fun though. I would highly recommend that park. There was a woman, and this was just posted on her social media, and she said, I'm embarrassed. She rode a ride at Busch Gardens called the Iron Gwazi, Gwazi.
Which one is that? Tampa or Williamsburg?
This is Williamsburg, and
That's my spot.
that's your spot. She said, I did do this. She defecated in her pants on the roller coaster.
Nuh-uh.
She did. And ride operators, they had pictures of the
She
ride.
put it up on social media. I pooped my pants.
She pooped her pants.
She did. She did. She put it up on her Reddit, and she said, "I did this. I was so scared by this ride. I pooped my pants." And they had the ride. They had to shut it down for like 15 minutes. You know, we were on one. It's called Mystery Mine, which is a pretty scary ride. Oh, tons of scary, great roller coasters at Dollywood. And somebody threw up, and they stopped. We were in the car, and they stopped and said, everybody has to wait for 10 minutes, and they cleaned it up. Yeah. Somebody threw up like before we started.
You think that's way more common than pooping?
Of course.
And this every day almost.
I mean, this dangles you upside down there for a while. You know? And so somebody had done it and then thrown up in the ride. So we sat there for quite a while before they finally got it going. But it was a nice, it was a very nice trip. Thanks for asking. But when the boy couldn't go, we were like, let's make plans to go back. I mean, that's how much we really enjoyed that. We really did.
Glad y'all had fun.
I met a number of people who were, because a lot of kids had spring break the same week, Kelly, that your kids did.
Yes.
And so it's just a thing now that the parents go to the beaches with their kids.
Oh, yeah.
On spring break.
Yeah.
It was never a thing when I was younger.
No, the kids would go by themselves. 100% right. And boy, it did occur to us that our son who was sick might be having friends over.
Yeah.
So we made sure to call in numerous times.
I bet you did. And I bet Mama Bear tracked him on the phone all the time.
Oh, yes. You better believe.
Make sure that dot
this
don't
might
move.
get cameras installed at the house finally.
Yeah, that was one that got us thinking maybe we should have cameras. But he really was sick. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't faking that. He had a fever, and he tested positive for the flu, and he felt like crap for 5 or 6 days.
Yeah, there's been some of that grunge going around.
Yeah, and it's like a stomach thing.
Yeah.
And I said, Dave told me there was a stomach thing.
Yeah.
I always bring you up, Dave. I always say, Dave says.
The old folksy stuff.
That Dave says.
Yeah, it's going around.
Yeah.
Good to know my names are resonating up in the mountains.
I tell you, when we went through Hendersonville, where you're from, and it just said exit this way for Hendersonville. I said, Dave's from here, Dave's from here. And my wife's like, yeah.
No, I keep going through Asheville.
Who cares? Yeah, we just kept on going.
That's right.
I said, this is Dave.
Next stop.